Hey guys, it's Matt, welcome to SpeedTutor, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a camera shake like in the little preview below, which will show you in this case on a trigger event to be able to trigger the shake that we're going to do. And we're going to do this on a Cinemachine camera, and I'll show you a really nice and concise way to control the shake that we're going to produce. Go Window and Package Manager and make sure that you filter by Unity Registry and type in Cinemachine and make sure that is installed. And do be sure to check out my Patreon to get access to this project and over 185 different scripts, assets and projects you cannot find anywhere else. And be sure to check out all the great savings that I've got down in the description for all the game dev stuff that you can find. So once you've got Cinemachine installed, what you want to be able to do is add a virtual camera like I've got here. So in earlier versions of Cinemachine, it used to have a little button at the top, but now it's in game object Cinemachine, and you want to add a virtual camera, and it just follows and looks at the player. It does have a world space binding mode, which has just got a little offset so we can look above the character. But one thing that we've got to make sure that we have is something called noise. So by default, it will be set to none. And in this case, we want to add the perlin noise, which will give you a stutter or an effect that you'll want to see. Now, it will say that it requires a perlin noise is required. So on the noise profile, we've got a bunch of profiles. We've got 6D shake and wobble. So you'll see here, but when I've got the amplitude set to 1 and the frequency set to 1, you get this wobble. Now, if we do 6D shake, that's more of a specific shake that would start and then stop, whereas the wobble's something more like you could imagine an earthquake happening. And of course, you can adjust the amplitude gain to make a more of a intense effect, and the frequency gain is the amount of times it will do this effect in a quick space of time. So if we add that up to 10, it will be a much crazier effect. Now we're going to stick with the 6D shake because that's more relevant to just a shake of the screen when we have an impact or something like that. And I'm going to use a set of barrels that is going to simulate the object that's going to explode. And I've got a free set of explosion particles, and I'll put all the links down in the description for you to get hold of all this. Now in my scene, I've added a new barrel. I've made sure that it's got a box collider because that's the thing we're going to walk into. And on my barrel, I do have a script which causes the explosion, as you could see there when I go into it. And I do have a tutorial showing you how to create this script and that effect by instantiating a prefab. Now I want to create and control the actual shake that will happen. We'll right click in the project, choose create and choose C#, and I'm just going to call this my camera shake controller. We'll open up in Visual Studio and I'm going to get rid of the starting methods. At the top we need to use a namespace called using Cinemachine. I'm going to create a private Cinemachine virtual camera, and I'm just going to name this virtual cam. And then I'm going to have another private reference. So it's going to be then Cinemachine basic multi-channel perlin, which is the perlin noise or the actual noise that's going to create the effect. Now I'm going to say private void away, and then I'm going to find the objects that we need. So virtual cam is going to equal get component, and we're going to look for the Cinemachine virtual camera that we want to just find, because this is just going to be on our camera object. Then with that being found, we want to say that the perlin noise is equal to the virtual cam that we've just found dot get Cinemachine component. Again, we'll find that component, which is the Cinemachine multi-perlin channel noise, which is like we referenced at the top. And once we've found all that, now we want to create a public method to shake the camera. So we'll call it camera shake as a flow as intensity, and then we'll have a flow of shake time. So the time of which it's going to shake for before we turn it off. And then a nice shorthand for this is we can say that the perlin noise dot m_amplitude gain, because the m_ is accessing that noise component from the Cinemachine camera. Then we can set it equal to the intensity that was our parameter. And in this case, I actually want to start a coroutine to make this wait a certain amount of time and then turn it off, because I find it's the easiest way to be able to control a timer that's just a really simple timer. So I'll write a new method, which is iEnumerator, and then I will call this just the wait time, have this as a parameter of flow shake time like before, because it's the time at which we're going to wait before we return to it. We'll write yield return new wait for seconds, and then we can specify the shake time. Then we might want to, after that, is reset the amplitude. So I'm going to create a new method which is just called reset intensity, just so that we'll keep this nice and organized. So then we can say that we can just copy our line here, which is the perlin noise dot amplitude gain, and instead of having equal to the intensity, we'll make it equal to 0. And in this case, we'll go back up to the top and we're going to reset the intensity there. We'll add into the awake, we want to reset the intensity, so we make sure that it's always 0 before we start, because we don't want to be shaking the camera when we've just started the game if we accidentally left the amplitude at a certain value. So then to start this coroutine, we can just say start coroutine, open brackets, wait time, and then open up the 2 brackets in there and close that off with a semicolon. We need to pass in the actual shake time that we set in this parameter. It will pass it to this method, which will wait an amount of seconds and then just reset and make sure the noise is 0. So with that being created, all we need to do is call this method and set the intensity and the shake time. So in this case, I will go to where I've got the logic for the barrel exploding. Then I've just created a header up here to control my camera shake. So we need to create a reference to that script that we're going to access. So it was private camera shake controller, and we'll just set the name to camera shake, and then we can create 2 variables which are just the intensity that we might want to set in the inspector rather than specifically hard coding it in script. So in this case, I've got shake intensity and shake time. So then in the onTriggerEnter method that I'd created to make the particle effect happen, we can just say camera shake dot shake camera, because that's the method that we created. We're going to input the shake intensity and have a comma of also the shake time, and make sure we end that. So by default, if we minimize that, go back into Unity now, go onto my barrel, I can see that it's looking for a component that we need. We'll go back to our virtual camera, add our camera shake controller here. It's now added to our virtual camera. We can go to our barrel and make sure that we add that object, so the Cinemachine camera. We can say that our shake intensity wants to be 5, the shake time is 1, so we're going to shake with an intensity or an amplitude. In this case over here, amplitude will be set to 5 over a period of 1 second, and once that's over, it will stop. Then in my case, if I got into the barrel, you can see it shook for the intensity of 5 for 1 second, and of course we can go back and set the intensity to 10 over 2 seconds, 10 intensity over 2 seconds, which will be more of a vicious shake with the screen shake over the time. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. So be sure to check out my Patreon to get access to over 185 different scripts, assets and projects you cannot find anywhere else. And be sure to check out all the links in the description for all the best sales, savings and everything you can find for this month. Do be sure to check out all my assets on the Unity store and massive savings on my website, but a big thank you to all my patrons including Peter Steiner, Raheem Whittaker, Manos Berikas, Walter Dunson, René Leisure, Alyssa Faden, Hush, Thomas Merstileski, Callum Murray, Mark Rondu, Marvin Church, Curry for Life Gaming, Sungji Park, Austin Certain, Gene Quaid, Duan Cooper, Johan Lixon, Leslie Winter, Heather Fletcher, Mark Vacon, Andre Ferreira, Lariantu, Dylan C, Pablo, Liam Gray, Woblinlin, Dennis Foreman, Lemu, Shane Finley, Carl Frederick, Shabidi Myron, FH, Darko Penninger, and Asep Gunawan. So thank you to everybody else who comes to watch the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.